Here you go.
Got it. Yeah, let's go.
Hey, we're back.
Very cool. We're back.
Back in the highlight again. High
All
life,
right.
highlight.
Yeah. I
And if
I
we
muted the
go,
site because otherwise I was hearing us twice.
it does say Michelle's personal meeting room, so we will have to go change it on
Oh,
the
I changed it
YouTubes.
before, but you want me to stop and start again?
All right, up to you. I mean,
We have somebody watching. I don't know. It's me probably.
and me. Um, yeah, I mean, if we can rename it afterwards, that's fine.
Yeah, we can rename anything afterwards for sure.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Hey,
Hey,
you are not Corey.
I'm not Corey. I'm Michelle. I don't even look like him.
Not at all.
Oh,
Not to insult his general appearance, but
no.
yeah,
He's a very
so
good-looking man, but he's not me.
with season two, uh we had last year we had said we were going to switch focus from launching a product because the product was launched to marketing a product. And then life happened and everybody was busy and priorities shifted and all that good stuff. And then I spoke to Michelle, and Michelle said, "Sure, I'd love to get involved." And so we're pivoting the podcast slightly to be Michelle and Corey market a WordPress product live.
Exactly. It's
Eventually,
a
we're
good
going to
thing.
not work on a product or WordPress, and we're just going to change all the words in the title. But for now,
This is where we
we'll
are right
run
now.
with it. Love it.
Very cool.
Love it.
I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of start to dig in and see what I can do to maybe help a little bit. And
Yeah, and thank you for diving in the deep
yeah.
end, so to speak.
For sure. And to be completely open and honest, we have had a couple of conversations prior to this. So it isn't like,
Yeah.
oh, show me your new product, Corey. I'm
No, of course.
well versed. Oh, I shouldn't say I'm well versed. I'm learning to be well versed in the product for sure.
Right.
I'm still at the
Right.
baby stages.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah, the last call was kind of the first one where we said, okay, let's start to focus. And I came in going, okay, well, if we want to get something done, I want to be working on this new homepage, because we're finding that the homepage itself isn't, or we have a little bit of traffic, but the homepage is not converting. Um, but not unexpectedly, the last call just turned into me trying to upload as much from my brain to your brain, um, which only makes
Why
sense,
not?
right? Like,
Yeah.
you've got this sounds negative, but obviously I don't mean it that way, but like you have a lot of catching up to do because
Yeah, for sure.
Corey and I have had lots of conversations, and then I've done a lot of thinking. And what was good for me over the holidays specifically was really kind of shifted a lot of my thinking to say, okay, who's our customer and what do we want to focus on and how do we explain this and yada yada
Hmm.
yada. So, um,
And let's kind of back up a little bit too and say that
mhm.
when you talk to me for the first time and you're like, hey, Corey said maybe we should ask you about some of what you do with marketing and that kind of stuff. I turned around and I sent you a list. I said, hey, in our preparation to meet, I came up with a list of things to think about together. Like, who is the audience? What are your goals? What are the outlets that you're using right now? Like, for example, social media, direct email, etc. And what's the message? And your response was, oh, I thought maybe we could work together on it. I'm like, yeah, but I need to know what those things are before we even start to work. So and so we started our first meeting after that, initial meeting with going over some of those things
Mhm.
and talking about and looking at the website together and deciding why, well, I shouldn't say deciding, but evaluating some of those things. Hold on. Sorry, I've got UPS just delivered my new debit card at my door. Um, it's, it's live. Strange things
Did I show
happen.
you, did I show you
The
the new
doorbell
toy
goes
I
off.
got? Speaking
No, but
of,
show me.
no, I didn't send
No.
you the picture. I'll have to quick find the picture. But yeah, I today uh, today got very busy, and so I haven't yet had a chance to play with. But I received my new DJ controller um,
Oh,
like a few
that's
hours ago,
exciting.
and then had to jump in the car and drive an hour and a half to have my dog's teeth cleaned, only to then have the person who was going to clean his teeth go, "Sorry, I'm not feeling well." So then I had to
Oh
drive an hour and a half
no.
back, and I was like, "Come on, that's 3 hours. I could have been practicing DJing."
Playing with your
But
new toy.
playing with my no toy is the right way to put it, honestly. Um, but anyway,
I
yeah.
know that feeling. Yeah. So,
Uh,
so we went over some of those questions and we talked about the homepage. And as somebody who knows about OMGIMG but hasn't dug in, I've had it, but I haven't actually had time to put it on a site that, because I'm not really blogging a whole lot right now to think
right.
about what I would need. I could put it on a site and then still not really use it. So, as somewhat of a fresh eye to it, said to you, I'm not sure what it does when I land on the homepage. I have a vague idea. And some of the things that we talked about were um, taking a look at the taglines, taking a look at what's above the fold, and then pulling out some of like the video that you made from not the top video that plays in a loop.
Not the GIF. Yep.
Right, but the one below it is so informative and really did a lot to cue me into what the product is. And so
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about those things. So I just kind of want to set the playing field of kind of like where we left off and what we've been doing. So,
hmm And let me,
and you
so I'll
mentioned
share.
you
Go ahead.
mentioned also because one of the things that I had said to you is we don't have any featured images on our blog posts, so we need to like use our own product. And so like the next time I looked at it, it's like, wow, you like really went for it and put all of those things in there to make it look like super awesome. And
Yeah.
and then also I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, I'm just super excited about the fact that some of those changes have started to happen already and taking a look at what it is that we do.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I somebody coincidentally somebody last week watched the video and were like, I'm not currently buying this, but and it's a 5 minute video, which breaks all the rules. Like it should only be a minute, minute and a half, ideally.
Right.
Um, Not that this one doesn't serve a purpose, but this was meant to be a here's an intro, follow these steps versus a put it in the hero of the homepage, whiz
Right.
quick bang pop, here are the benefits. But the person said it was compelling. I watched it all the way to the end. I was like, great, okay. So the plan I think is to remake essentially remake that video into something that's 60 seconds, 90 seconds, that focuses a little more on the benefits than an actual like here are the buttons that you click on. But but there's still but it has hopefully the same compelling nature of that video. So
Hmm.
um yeah, here's the new homepage in progress.
I
Um,
like it.
um, I'm still, everything's in flux, but
Mhm.
some blocking out some sections. Well, and we can do another tab where we've got so the current homepage, let your images do the talking, use your WordPress content to create valuable, shareable, featured images for your website and social media. So um, a tagline, and then the little blurb that everybody says, and then a button that gets you excited about starting to see the benefits, right?
Hmm.
Um, Switching to a tagline that more categorizes you, the customer, right? So I realized that uh, while I had been playing with this, I hadn't mentioned WordPress anywhere, and so it was like, oh yeah, let's make sure that it's clear. Like so, the
I know some
logo
of things feel like you assume them, but not everybody should assume
exactly.
that. Yeah. I like the logo. That
So
looks good.
yeah, changing the logo to the for WordPress version, um, maximizing the impact of every WordPress post, product, or podcast. Um, Probably could still use some finessing, but I actually did a nice big prompt with ChatGPT and got a whole bunch of sentence blurbs essentially. So I pasted those in your Slack. If you scroll up a little bit, I think. Um, but a lot of great phrases: elevate your
Oh
posts,
yeah.
transform your featured images, boost engagement, maximize the impact was the one that I went with. Capture your audience's imagination. I was like, these
Ooh.
are great. These are some great phrases. And one of the things that so there are 2 points to talk about right away. One is um, we get into like who's the customer and a bunch of other, all the stuff later, but featured images or open graph images or both. And after talking to Cory for a year and talking to you this year and talking to customers and the internet as a whole, there's a lot of education, I think, that still needs to go into what the heck an open graph image is.
Yeah.
And because we're dealing with WordPress, I think it's more clear to just focus on featured images and then
Hmm.
them being used as the images that people see when when your site is shared on social, aka Open Graph. Like you said
Right.
that at some point during one of our calls where you're like, well, because we don't think people necessarily know what Open Graph means, that we sort of explain what it's doing and then say, by the way, this is called an Open Graph image.
Right. Exactly. I think that there's a lot the developers know, and a lot of those
Hmm.
key phrases like that make a lot of sense to people who are developing. I'm not certain that people who are, building their own websites for their businesses, like the mom and pop shop kind of thing, would have any idea what that stood for. And honestly, I think a lot of freelancers still don't know what that means either. Like, I mean, I've been around a while and I wasn't 100% sure what it was until you like talked me through it. And yeah, I could have Googled it, but I never needed to, so I didn't.
Right. And same with, Cory talked about that, like when we pivoted from Crop Express to talking about OMG, there was a lot of me reiterating, like I had to do my homework. I knew what it was, but I had to do my homework about the specs and where it came from. And he
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I had no idea. I was like, great. So, that can be a thing, that can be a source of content for us, teaching people
Yes.
about Open Graph and all that.
Oh, mhm.
Um, so that was one thing. And so I, again, kind of moved forward with, we don't actually say it here, but um, one of the new focuses of the homepage is featured image, whereas with the previous homepage, a lot of what we talked about was um, down here, down here, down here. Like yes, featured images, but trying to show open graph images in context, which I think we can still do. Like we've had a good reaction to a lot of these graphics, but I think it was um, overwrought essentially, or taking up too much scrolling space,
Mhm.
essentially trying to illustrate that. And then the other thing that I feel good about right now, but obviously want your take on, is I've struggled to explain what it does, right?
Mhm.
So we we've been staying away from AI, although it looks like I'm going to have that integrated in the next couple of weeks.
Ooh,
So awesome.
sweet.
Um,
Awesome. Yeah.
and already have um, it turned out to be simpler than I expected. Unsplash, um, uh, what's it called? Pexels.
Pexels. Hmm.
And then there was
Pixabay.
and then Pixabay. So those 3 all have APIs, and I think there's one other. And so I've already got 2 out of the 3 integrated into the plugin. So you're going to be able to say, show me
Yeah.
an image from, or help me find an image. Um,
Yep.
so we
Yeah.
can talk about that too, because a lot of people assumed AI from the start, the moment we started talking about what this
Right.
plugin does. Um,
Well, you launched in the middle of the AI like climb, right? To like
Hmm.
learn AI deeply and all of those kinds of things. And so I think people were just they just assume anything new automatically integrates with AI.
Yeah, especially with images and stuff like that. So, but one, all this to say, what at its core, we superimpose, we we layer stuff from your post, whether it's images or words, to create another image. And I was really struggling with like how do we explain that in a way that doesn't sound lame, um, and have and sort of have the benefit of it come through, right?
Right.
And so
Hmm.
one of the other phrases that ChatGPT emphasized was visuals. And I was like, to me, that sounds like a more regal word than
Mm,
photo or image.
right.
And so I ran with, again, combining, mixing and matching some of the phrases that chat came up with. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, transform your words and featured images into attention grabbing visuals.
I like
And
that.
I finally I feel like
Yeah,
that. Okay. And
right.
you,
Because you're not making a graphic and you're not taking a picture or whipping something up out of AI right away. And so the idea is you could use any image, whether it's a
mhm,
photographic image or a graphic image, and use that within
mhm.
OMGIMG for those attention grabbing visuals. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great phrase.
Awesome. Great. And, or no image at all. And that's what I kept,
Right.
like, we're struggling, I feel like right now, or at least with what we have, we've been struggling to convey. It's like you don't have to have an
Yeah.
image. It can be text on a color. That
Can
and but
you
that's still something.
show the blog page that with what you created there? Because those are words. Those are not like, hey, we
Mm.
imported all of these
Oh, good point. Yep.
photos or images. So this is what you're talking about.
Oh, and that one doesn't have one. But yeah, these are they need to be shown better, but each one of
Right.
these is
But you did those overnight because I was like, hey, we need images on this. And
yeah,
like you whip those up super fast.
because the plugin with 2 clicks will generate it and save it. So,
Right.
the plugin works, damn it.
It
But yeah,
does. I love it.
and I look forward to going back and redoing these. One of the things you said, which I thought was awesome, is maybe they all look the same. I do want to add some sort of background or something. These look great when shared on socials, which is the
They do.
point. But viewing them here as featured images, you don't get that that's an image. So I want to put a background image on it or something. But I also
Or
loved
a border. Maybe a
or a
border.
border. Yep. But also you'd said like make them all outrageously different to show like it'll
Right.
be hideous as a blog page because normally you go for consistent design. But
Yeah.
if we end up showing all of the crazy things you can do with the plugin, then point made.
Have you ever gone to okay, I'm gonna date myself by saying like you go to a place like a Lowe's or something. There used to be um what do you call them? Wallpaper books. And you could
Oh
check
yeah.
them out even, right? And you could flip through the wallpaper book and hold it up against your wall, see what you liked. But if you went with every wallpaper sample that was in there and put your house with every single one, that's what that page would have looked like. The sample book.
That's a great reference and not dated. Apparently, wallpaper is back in fashion because we
Oh,
were
thank
looking
goodness.
at wallpapering our bathroom, which we did an accent wall.
I should have
But
said
anyway,
carpet or
there you go.
hardwood floors or tiles or
Right,
something, but yeah.
but that's a great analogy. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's not a good design choice unless you're trying to illustrate variety. So there you
We
go.
may need to put a caveat at the top, like, don't do this to your site.
Yeah,
This is an
no kidding.
example, so you can see what could happen. We do have better design chops than what you're about to look at. A little pop-up disclaimer.
Exactly, exactly. By the way, all of well, and one of the notes that I have is so the site-wide open graph image for our site says this graphic created by using the OMG plugin, get your own kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so we might even do that with these, like instead of it just having the watermark, we make the watermark say this image created with. the OMGIMG plugin.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it'll like
I
a
think
signature.
we know a way we could do that.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
I actually like
Um,
this homepage, the visual, like it's more striking than the old homepage, which I don't know if you want to show the
mhm.
old homepage real quick so people can see the difference.
Yeah. Come on, back up. I was just there.
All right.
Oh, all
Right. So this is very colorful, but it's almost too colorful and there's so
right.
much going on. And even though the new one has like a graphic image behind it, like that hills or valleys or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's calming so that it lets you read without trying to figure out where your eye is supposed to go. And I really like that. I think when you land on a homepage that makes you feel like you can breathe while you take in
Mhm.
all of the qualities of whatever's there is really helpful.
Yep. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm still debating. I the wave, it doesn't, one of the things that I basically stuck it in as a placeholder, and then I wasted an hour trying to write script that would regenerate it in a different way every time you loaded. And then I was like, why am I doing this? This is
It's
so
not
dumb.
necessary.
It was fun. And it's
Yes.
something that I might end up integrating into the plugin where it's like generate
Oh
backgrounds,
yeah. Oh, that's
because
cool.
that way they are actually unique because they are randomly
Hmm.
generated. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
but I wanted to be a little more intentional. So up here are all the sites that I'm essentially borrowing design elements from. Um, and so this is actually the icon where icon a lot of the icons come from, but I like the sort of random placed objects, so I
Yeah.
might emulate that.
It's
But the
it
point,
actually harkens to the 80s a little bit in design,
mhm.
in layout, not necessarily in the specific use of the imagery, but like the way that it's laid out kind of makes me think of that a little bit.
And one of the things that I took away from this that's a little deeper, nobody else will think about it, but we will. But I think it's one of those like subconscious things is, so this is a site for icons, and you're like, why do they have these random things? And if you move your mouse over, it actually shows you where it's
Mm,
using all of the icons from the site. And you're like,
clever.
oh, very clever, exactly.
Hmm.
And so I was like, in the same vein, there's another one of these. This one I really like. So um, they have these illustrate or the examples of the visuals that they create, which will show lower on the page as well. But their background images are icons that one represent photos and text,
Hmm.
and two um, are like they're things that they're icons that you will probably find in their actual application.
Makes sense.
So I think that I'm going to replace this wave with some version of that where it's
Hmm.
like, because the wave as a metaphor or a symbol doesn't mean anything OMG IMG related, really.
True.
Like you could make something up, but I'd rather
Hmm.
something graphic related, image related,
Hmm.
or examples or something.
What
So,
I like though is that I mean, I'm always telling people this when I'm talking about their websites is white space doesn't have to be white space.
mhm,
It just has to be a background that doesn't distract you from
mhm,
the primary content and actually might lend itself to the primary content without hitting you over the head with it. I
exactly,
mean, yes, there
exactly.
even so it can be too busy, right? So we have to like not we have to, but in
Oh,
general, we
I
have to
don't,
be careful
I
of
probably
that.
can't
So
do this fast enough, but there's hidden on this page are the wave was actually the two big blobs that were rotating and wobbling. So like the
that's
background was like it looked like here's a dated reference. It looked like a lava lamp. Um,
oh, I have one behind me. Do you see it? There's a lava lamp
I
right there.
love your lava lamp. Yeah. Um, Spencer's gifts, baby. Um, but anyway, yeah. So that's still in flux, but much happier with the wording.
Yep.
And then the only other phrase that like the one of the big benefits, sorry, dogs exploding behind me. Hold on a second.
Yep.
I don't know if there's anything to be done about that. I'm alone in the house, so it's 4 against 1.
There you go.
But I can shut the door. Anyway,
If
um,
they're like my cats, though, they're gonna start like barking right on the other side of the door. My cats meow. They don't bark, but they meow. Like you locked me out. Yeah.
right. I used to have a cat that would hurl itself against the door, so you just hear thunk. Um,
Mine aren't that
but but yeah, so the
crazy, but
other
yeah.
the other big benefit is, and this might be too specific, and so we might say it a different way, but without opening Canva or Photoshop,
Right.
and this has always been a benefit. And I down below I illustrate that of sure you could use Canva 12 steps in 15 minutes or OMG 3 steps in 1 minute
Yeah.
kind of thing. Um, and then I think where this is going now is going to be even more relevant is again integrating um, AI image generation and all of these free
Hmm.
stock photo places is again, you don't have to go to another tab. It's just built right in.
Exactly.
Um, so the only question is, do we actually call out Canva and Photoshop, or do we just say, you know, from within your WordPress admin
Or without
or
third-party apps or something like that.
right. So up for debate. And so have a think about that. Or if you right off the bat, if you're like, I feel strongly about,
We could do some A/B testing.
hmm,
See what converts if one converts better than the other. But
yeah,
I think
that's a great
Canva and
idea.
Photoshop right now really kind of convey the idea. I think when
Right.
we start talking about Dolly and we talk about maybe bringing in like other things that people can do, then maybe changing that over to be like third-party apps or, expensive apps or anything like that. Because yeah, I mean you can use a little bit of Canva for free, but you can't use like to get the benefits you want to pay. Photoshop costs money. Like all of those things are, cost money. And even to use like Dolly or something, I can't create images without buying credits to do that,
Right.
right? And this, you just have your subscription, your annual subscription, and it's all right there within your website. So it makes a lot of
All right, come
sense.
on. Dogs,
Ha
come on
ha! I knew it. The dogs
now.
win.
Um, well, and so that's a feature question that
Mhm.
I do want to talk through at some point is yes, generating images costs money. Somebody has to pay for it. And so
Right.
whether they pay us credits or whether they plug in their own API, open API key, which I'm
Hmm.
leaning towards, even though it's more technical, that
Hmm.
way we don't have to recharge, you know. I mean
Right.
we could do a markup. I wouldn't mind that part, but you know,
Hmm.
if it's just built in and it uses their own API key, then they can be in charge of it, and we're
Sure.
not literally nickeling and diming people. So,
It could be
um,
an add-on.
right. So that's a question, but well, we can get to that later.
Sure.
All right, one dog surfaced. I don't know where the other one is. Um, and then I think we'll add you to this lineup. But I realized that we were not taking advantage of our social cachet or whatever you want to call it. So,
Hmm.
um, putting, at least for now, putting ourselves on it
I
because we
love
do
it.
have an about us page, but I feel like elevating that, not a bad thing.
Never a bad
And
thing. And I can't remember what our social looks like, but we want to make sure that we tag you both in the social profile as well if we haven't already.
yeah,
It's probably already there,
and
but
then
I just didn't
you
remember.
probably can't really see, but I'm wearing my rainbow
Nope.
suspenders.
Oh, I can see it now that you pointed it out. Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's cute. So little fast fact, little on the side thing. I had suspenders like that back in, I want to say middle school. I had the
Hmm.
original Mork from Ork with the actual like
Oh,
the finger button and everything.
nice.
Yeah. I wish
Great
I kept them.
reference.
Like, if only we could remember to, like, if we ever thought of like keeping some of those things, because you
Hmm.
look back and you're like, man, that'd be worth money now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, love it.
I had them when I was little too. Huge Mork from Ork fan.
Nanu
For
nanu.
those who have no idea what we're talking about, it was the original Robin Williams TV show, Mork and Mindy. We
Hmm.
are both uh we're not like both 80s kids, but we both
I am, but
grew
yeah.
up in the 80s. Um, I mean, we both technically are, but like we're not. Anyway,
I got a few years on
um,
you. It's okay. We can just say that. It's all right.
But I recently, I volunteer at the local sledding hill and I deal with a lot of little kids and I need suspenders to hold my snow pants up anyway. But I was like, of course I'm going to get rainbow suspenders. Why
I
wouldn't
love them.
I?
If I had
Okay,
them, I'd start
so
wearing them to word camps.
hell yeah. All right. Well, maybe I will. I mean, it goes with our branding, right?
It
So,
does. And we get OMGIMG pins to wear right on them. I mean,
oh
hey,
my. Okay, done. Done. Any excuse to get more swag.
I
Um,
love swag.
but yeah, we have a on the current homepage we have a integrations section, but we were not emphasizing customers, actual as seen on.
Hmm.
So um, taking advantage
Now,
of,
now
go ahead.
I did say like I haven't used it, but the truth is I write for post status
Hmm.
and there's plenty that I have to put out on social media that has no featured image already associated with it. And so the featured image becomes what we have already got there through
Right.
OMGIMG, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then Seattle Mag is my biggest client. So of course I have
I had to
installed
put it
my own
there.
plugin because I'm the webmaster. There's an old term. So adding a little bit and emphasizing the third party validation, essentially. Um, and then I will going to skip this section for the moment. But we'll somewhere in whatever order this is, like we said, we're going to have a new video. So there'll be some happy talk on the left. And then, want to see it in action, watch Corey's video. So, and that might go all the way to the hero. I don't know yet.
Hmm.
Um, and then something that I blatantly stole from, I think it's Blaze AI. Um, I mean, talk about commitment to a design aesthetic. I love their
I love
website.
it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
And so they have this great section, essentially pick
Hmm.
yourself out as a customer. And so I was like, that's what I've been trying to convey on the old homepage. I had added solo publishers and agencies, but realized, and I'm not these might need some tweaking.
Tweaking. I mean, it just
Ah,
is lorem
now the
ipsum right
dogs are
now. So we're
trapped in the office.
I mean, we are going to
Um,
change the lorem ipsum, right? So, I mean,
of course. Um, or just wait and see how many people
actually notice.
notice. But yeah,
Ooh, we could
um,
just write it in Latin and see if people realize it's actual text, but in the different language.
um, but yeah, so focusing again on identifying, hoping that the people visiting the site will go, oh, this is who I am and the benefits I will reap.
Uh,
Um, so I'm like, you really kicked off and told me to make some changes and in so doing inspired me,
Yay.
where like making overall, and again, the website we have has been an amalgam of almost a year of like, oh, we need this and sort of barfing it onto the
Sure.
screen, whereas coming back with actual like structure and intent. And so one of the great changes you had me make was putting support and documentation and the blog and the contact us under resources, keeping that at the
Hmm.
top. Um, and so, and some other changes with the footer and things like that, like
Hmm.
placing content around in a way that makes more sense. And so
And
one of the
consistent
things that,
labeling.
yes, consistent labeling. And I think, I mean, because one of the things that a new site struggles with is having enough content to rank with Google, but also to feel like there's actual depth here, um, and all those things, right? But it takes time. But one of the things that I'm starting to flush out is so just before our call, I was talking or updating this. I had previously created a page called integrations and had listed the 6 SEO plugins that we currently integrate with. And that
Hmm.
was it. That was what I was calling integrations. And I'm like, well, but now we're starting to integrate with stock photo sites
Hmm.
and with AI. And so it's like, okay, so I can now build this out more so that it's integrations shows the different types of integration that we have. And then each one of these will have a landing page. And then, each actual integration has a page. And so like I was talking to Taco from Yoast, and I had created this is one of those embarrassing things that always bites everybody in the butt.
Mm.
Um, but I had created let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I had created a landing page for all of the integrations, but I had not actually put anything on the page. And
Oh.
so just so their team, in considering, like, do we want to deal with these people at all, Googled Yoast and OMGIMG, and of course landed immediately on a blank page. And he was like, so you might want to go fill this out. And I was like, yeah, that was embarrassing. So, so starting to flush these out where, again, nice
Hmm.
big image that combines the two, and then
Yep.
actually talk about the benefits of Yoast, the ground that Yoast covers, and then how we pick up the slack, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah, that
yeah,
looks
starting
great.
to flush that out more. And so analogously, again, we will have omgimg.co/customers or customer types
Hmm.
or who you are or something. And then
Right.
each one of these will get their own page where we can talk about the explicit benefits.
Hmm.
Um, because somebody
There's two
landed it. Go ahead.
there's two things that are top of mind when you're creating like a homepage, when you're marketing something is number one, what pain point is it solving for, right? And so now what we're doing is we're looking at the old homepage versus the new homepage so that it's a little clearer what the pain point is. What is the problem that we're solving? And then this section is also addresses like, can I see myself
Hmm.
in the users for this product, right? So I have an example I've used before where there was gosh, this was almost 30 years ago now, but there was a television commercial for a car. And my daughter and I lived, it was actually in this house, with my parents at the time when I was in my MBA program. And every time that car commercial came on, it was like this hip hop kind of music, and there was the driver, and then the passenger was doing this pop and lock kind of dancing, right? And my mom would say, "I hate this commercial," and I'd say, "Oh, it's okay, blah blah blah." And then like the next time it came out, she's, "I hate this commercial," and the third time she goes, "I would never buy this car." And I'm, sitting there in marketing classes. I turn around and go, "Well, they don't want you to buy their car." She's like,
Right.
"Why?" I said, because you're not their target audience. So if you buy the car, great, but you're not their target audience. So can you see yourself in that car? My mother would have said no, right? But the people for whom it actually clicked were like, yes, I can see myself in that car. And so we want people to be like, yes, I can see myself using this product. I know what the problem is that's solving, and I can see that it's easy for me to use going forward. Is this the one I told you about this before then, didn't I? You brought it right up. I
Oh,
love it.
so you can't hear the music, but it's all about the music. Um, like she goes, oh, I
Yes.
could totally do
Oh my
this.
gosh. Oh,
Um,
better you than
and
me.
I upset my dogs. But yeah, it's a super hit commercial. And I actually also stop. I actually loved the music. And the music was as they created it, a couple of guys who had a history of producing dance music, made it up on the spot, like in the studio for this, and then the song became such a hit, they quick had to like put out an album to take advantage of it. I mean,
Yeah.
very smart. And
Make some money.
I actually loved the album. I was way too cool to admit it at the time. But I like they were just talented musicians and obviously had more of a rock background because a lot of the songs incorporated guitar and real
Mhm.
instruments. So it was just this really great crossover. And anyway, so well worth revisiting. I can't remember the
That's
name.
amazing that you just literally had it right up there. I love it. I
Yeah.
couldn't have told you
Oh,
what the car was, but you do it right there.
right. Oh, I knew it was Mitsubishi because yeah, Dirty Vegas. That was what they produced. They wound up calling themselves for that song, and I don't know if they went on to have more of a career than that album, but
That's awesome.
Because
Yes.
the other funny thing of it at the time, I was doing these art installations and my own clothing line and stuff like that. And so I came out with a t-shirt. I still love this. It's so cynical, but in those shirts that just have like Helvetica black text on white, right? But it
Hmm.
said, I only listen to music I hear on car commercials.
That's perfect.
And I loved walking around New York City wearing that t-shirt because
Uh,
it just
the
upset everybody.
the funny thing is too, like I have told that story so many times, but I don't dare let my mother know that I use her as an example. Oh, but anyway,
But
yeah,
yeah,
that's the whole idea,
great
right?
reference. Great
Yeah, you got to
reference.
see
Yeah,
yourself. You
exactly.
got to see yourself using it.
Um, and I want to give credit to Eli Feiner, who I follow on Twitter and have started. He's an ex-developer, I think, and is focused more on teaching his experience of marketing. So he's been doing like marketing co-working sessions and now is doing workshops and stuff. And I've been really enjoying his content. And I have a newsletter that he sent out 2 weeks ago, January 19th. So so a month ago, still in my inbox. And I maintain more or less inbox 10, never inbox 0, um
I don't
but
want
where
to tell you
he
what mine is.
well, there's two schools of thought here, right? Like, either you work on it or you don't, and that's fine. Either
Yep,
way, whatever
absolutely.
works for you. But I tend to keep things in my inbox that I'm gonna come back to because my inbox, if I'm not gonna do it, I snooze it, that kind of thing. So it's sort of my to-do list. But um, real quick, he outlines step one: list all your features, and then under each feature list the benefit. Now go the other
Hmm.
direction, list all the benefits, and then under each one list all the features, so that you essentially have this matrix. And then now you can list all the attributes of your potential customers and just go and pick and choose and pick and choose.
Hmm.
Um, and so I still haven't done the exercise, but plan to for this, so that it's like, okay, so content creators, they will have these three benefits and these 10 features, whereas marketers might have these three different benefits and these 12 features that pertain the most to them. And so those,
Makes
I want to
sense.
kind of flesh out those kinds of pages.
Hmm. Yep, I
All
love it.
inspired by you, Michelle.
I'm so flattered. Here, I thought I hadn't done anything yet.
Um,
Uh,
and then obviously testimonials,
yep.
benefits and features. Features currently has its own page,
Hmm.
but my thought is, and this will bring us back up to the top, is to have sort of the three big benefits or three big features, and then say like for the full list, click here, um, and
I
then
love it.
SEO, and then SEO plugins that we integrate with, and then completely redoing the footer based on you gave me phenomenal feedback from last time, and I have a whole to-do list.
Awesome. I love making other people's to-do lists. It's so much easier than making my own.
I know, right? And I think I told you when we were first talking about working together, I'm like, I get, like everybody, I get overwhelmed, I get bogged
Of course.
down, um, you know, and there's too many options, and so analysis paralysis. But if we work together, we do these calls once a week, we come up with my punch list. You even
Hmm.
complimented me like after our first call, an hour later, I was like, okay, these are all done. And you were
I know,
like,
and I
oh,
was like,
cool.
holy cow. Like, I haven't even left my desk yet. How did you manage to get all that done? I love it. The one thing on your list, though, that you haven't done yet that I don't think you have
Mm-mm.
is give me access to the socials so that I can start
Right.
tweeting and posting too. So, because that's where I excel.
Yep. Yep. And that's number three on the list. So yeah,
I
I'll
mean,
get that all
no
to you
rush,
tomorrow.
no rush.
Right. Um, yes. Yeah, I still have yeah, give social account access. We use, like I said, we use Radar,
Mhm.
because I bought a lifetime license, so like for social
Perfect.
scheduling.
Yep.
Um,
I'll
you
get
were
to
gonna
learn a
look
new
into
one.
the YouTube streaming, so that one's done.
Here we are.
But anyway, and so the last section that I wanted to sort of put into your brain, and we can talk about it for a few minutes here, and then
Mhm.
um, keep talking about async is
Mhm.
um, basically like we need some blocks of words, um, specifically I think focused on benefits, um, but it sort of draws like if you haven't left after reading this, you're like, oh, how does it transform my words and images into visuals, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so kind of expounding on those, um, create stunning, compelling visuals from your WordPress content and images. Um, and thinking of these each as, a big stripe, basically.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and then this is where I say, um, repurpose those visuals, because again, I think most people are initially going to be thinking about the visual as a featured image,
Right.
and then how you can repurpose it for socials to get more likes and
Mhm.
whatnot. And then, so I guess, so now that I'm saying it all out loud, what I'm doing is I'm breaking all of this down, the happy talk up here,
Mhm.
into, here are kind of the 3 points that we're trying to make. Is that
Mhm.
if you do it in Canva or Photoshop, it takes 12 steps.
Oh, I just thought of
Um,
another use, by the way. I know this is
what,
coming way out of left field, but
do it, do it.
photographers using their own images on their website could watermark very easily using this plugin.
Yes. Which I think we have
I knew we talked about photographers,
under
but I don't remember.
features.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because it's like you could just brand it, but for a
Mm-hmm.
photographer, that means watermarking so that
Right.
people aren't stealing your content.
Yep. Yep. And just pulling on that thread an inch, I think I'd mentioned, or you and I had talked briefly about long term, and thinking sometime within this year, long term, not a decade. Um, but to get some free plugin into the plugin directory
Hmm.
to benefit from that discoverability, because every
Right.
plugin I've ever had, 80% of the traffic came from
Hmm.
my usual cynical spiel of people
Right.
who are on their website and are supposed to be writing blog posts or supposed to be updating products, but instead they just like when they're playing on their phone, they'll go download every free plugin because it feels productive, but it's more fun. So we
Right.
may as well take advantage of that.
And honestly, there's a lot of SEO just within
Hmm.
the repository too, right? So the plugin repo. And there, if you think about most of the big plugins that you've used, a lot of them are already in there. I can think
Right.
of a few that I've used that I had to hear about from other people because they're not there, right? So like Gravity Forms, for example. You're
Yeah.
never going to find them in the repo, but our friend Mark Westgard has WS Form, a light version, and then he has, the fully loaded version. And so that's how a lot of people run, is with a kind of freemium to premium content.
Yeah. And so one of the ideas I have is to create a version that just watermarks, because I think
I
that
like
that
it.
is a common use case. And
Hmm.
then it gives us that foot in the door where we can say, by the way, you can do a lot more with your images. Um, and we may end up with multiple plugins. I don't know yet, but
And it's not just a featured
so
image plugin, by the way. If you want to put things within the blog post itself, you can, you know, put some consistency with the way that you're presenting your images throughout your whole site, not just in your featured image.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and so I think under content creators, like we will mention specifically, you know, YouTubers still have to have a website to drive
Hmm.
traffic. Photographers, and so getting specific with content creators. I'm still not I still don't love that phrase, but I think that that's the phrase that people are
It
using.
is. Hmm.
Um,
Especially with the onset of TikTok and the rise
right.
to popularity, is the phrase that people use as to identify themselves with that kind of content, as content creators and creators. And so I think that this would be a great thing for TikTokers as well. Everybody who does,
Hmm.
like, you'll click a link and you'll get their lighthouse or their beacon or their link tree, whatever they're using for that. And I look at those and I'm like, they don't have a website. Like,
I
they have a
know.
link tree. They'll send you all these places. Go to my Etsy store, go to my this, go to my that, but go to YouTube, go to Instagram, but they don't actually have a place where they own on the web. And I think that's interesting. So yeah, this could be perfect for them.
And you know what, it's so interesting that it that it warranted a blog post
I love it. It's
on
true. I have
that
actually
layout
reached
is
out to content creators on TikTok and said, "Where's your website?" Like,
right.
"Oh, I don't have one." I'm like, "Well, if TikTok goes down, you lose everything." So
Yep.
there's that
Yep. Yep. Um,
for sure.
so yeah, so the one of the things that I'm struggling with these sections in particular is show, don't tell,
Yeah.
right? So create stunning, compelling visuals with your WordPress content and images. That might be, maybe that's the text that goes next to the 60-second video that shows
Hmm.
how I do that.
Yep.
Um, and then repurpose these visuals. So showing, somehow the result of the featured image
Hmm.
that then also, essentially we could these kind of images where it's like, oh, you see
Yeah.
how you
Go
go
from
from
this to this.
exactly
Hmm.
just a
Yep.
photo to an enhanced photo, a bit what we're calling a video, a visual, enhanced visual, whatever, but show it and then show it in the context of socials.
Hmm.
Um, and
And
it
that's
could even
really the socials is where it really makes a difference. There's how many times have I gone to post somebody else's website and be like, "Hey, look at this I just read," and it doesn't return anything but a weird image, like, that little gray box that comes sometimes, or nothing
uh-huh.
at all. They're missing out on such opportunities. And sometimes I'll run their post right through the not TikTok, Twitter checker, or the Facebook checker, or the
Yep.
LinkedIn checker to get it to pick those things up, and it will, but if they've never done it. So we should do an article on that too, how to make sure your image will show up in the graph.
I
Like
trying to think if I
there's the
have
link.
one.
You probably
But
do. You probably do. But if
we
not, we should
yeah,
have it.
yeah, I built that our own preview, our own checker
Yep.
that shows at least three. Yeah, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and
Oh,
there's more to
perfect.
show. Um,
Yep.
and then I wrote sort of a companion article, but yeah, I think one of the things that I think would we can do with this new homepage, again, in the vein of trying to flush this stuff out and more words on the page and for people to find us, but also like more guidance, is exactly what you just said, where let's show, before and after. Let's
Yeah.
say the benefit, where, these great visuals will get you more clicks, and then click here and we'll explain to you, like you said, to how to make sure that your image shows up and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Um,
And I think consistency is another word we want to make sure we use. Like you can,
mm,
I love that you have the templating where you can be like, set it once, and then you can continue to use new images and everything, but it'll have the same general appearance, so that it'll have the same border, it'll have the same logo in the corner, so that you have this templating that is consistent in your messaging and consistent in your branding. Because that's hard to do, especially in bigger teams, to make sure that what you're creating is consistent messaging and consistent branding.
I love it.
Important
Yep.
stuff.
Yep. Well, and so, you realize the irony of you saying that is what we just said we were going to do to our poor blog page. That's going to look like
Well, but that's a
wallpaper
different
samples.
story. It's a different story. We're demonstrating. We're not the brand that we're selling to. So yeah, no, exactly
True.
though.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and something that just occurs to me is I have plans to create. Right now there's only a couple of presets in the plugin. At some point create, a dozen or so, and also kind of assign them, if it makes sense, assign them to niches. One of the other niches that Corey and I kept coming up to, again, not up against, but um, eyeing, is
Hmm.
all these recipe websites.
Hmm.
Because it's all about the beauty,
Yep.
it's all about the food porn, right? And
Yep.
so,
Absolutely.
creating, so identifying these sort of customer segments,
Hmm.
listing the specific benefits to them, and then also on those pages we can say, and by the way, we have these specific templates catered to you. Marketers, I don't know, bloggers might care more about like our kind of image that's all text,
Hmm.
whereas content creators are going to care way more about a big, beautiful picture of
Yeah.
raspberries, and maybe the
Yeah.
title small in the corner or something.
And
So,
honestly, bloggers is going to depend. There's such niches for bloggers. There's travel bloggers, there's food bloggers, there's photography bloggers, there's everything. So depending on the niche, I mean, I can think of a bunch of people who are travel bloggers, and that image is so important to draw
right.
people in to actually click through and read the article that they're talking that they've written. So
So yeah, we're our hours up here,
it
and
is.
my dogs are starving. But I think have a think about these are the four that I came up with. I'm content creators for sure, agencies for sure. We're all marketers, so I'm not confident in that. And blogger seems redundant, like you just said, or too broad, you know.
Yeah, let
So,
me give it some thought because I think that there's a definite benefits in all four of those. It's just how we write about them, probably.
mhm, and or these don't have to be the four is kind of what I'm
Sure.
getting at. Like if
Oh,
there's a
yeah,
better way to organize this, I'm very open to it. But
sure. Sounds good. One little inconsistency, we can scroll up to where you've got the four places where it's already there you go. Is the E cut off on Seattle?
that's their logo.
It is cut off. That's the way on purpose. I thought maybe
Hmm.
something was like a box was
I
over it.
know,
Okay.
right?
And then scroll back down, and the only other thing, and I know that this is me being really nitpicky, but the C on creators needs to be capitalized. And I know we're
Oh,
not
thank
done
you.
with this page, but that's one of those things that drives me crazy. So to be consistent.
Heck
Other than that,
yes.
yeah. So no, I'm excited. I think there's a lot that we're going to be working on over the next week for sure. Looking forward to next week. We won't be doing this the week I'm in Asia though, so people have to skip that week.
No
So
commitment.
that's what the
No
5th,
commitment.
March 5th. I will be unavailable. But yeah, looking forward to it. And hopefully the stuff we're doing helps other people
Absolutely.
think about how they're marketing their projects too. So
And how,
awesome.
yeah, how one dissects a homepage.
Yeah, it's so
And or
important, isn't
overthinks
it?
it. Yeah.
I don't know if you can overthink it. I mean, there's so much it is your landing page, right? Like unless you're sending people to something for a particular reason, your homepage has to be like, was it 3 to 5 seconds where people will make a decision of whether or not they bounce? So, and I think it's less than 5 seconds, honestly. It's more like 3 seconds. They look, if it doesn't speak to them right away, they bounce and you do not get a sale. So it's about keeping people on there and making sure you're saying the things that make them want to explore further.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things that I'm pleased, like I'm dragging this forward, working on it a little bit every day, but I'm not gonna, there was a time when maybe the formula was simpler or I had one formula that I believed in, and so I could like bang out a homepage in a day. I also would go into Photoshop, and so I think that's changed too, where I'm like
Mhm.
just doing it in the browser to just try to like move boxes around. But
Sure.
there are so many methods now to like what should be on a homepage and how to accomplish it, that again it turned into analysis paralysis of like which
Right.
formula do I follow, and does this pertain to my product, and do I like the order that this is in, and there's some things undeniable, like every freaking website has a hero image, hero section, and I spent way too much time going, but I don't want to look like every other website, but then I'm overthinking it. Shut up, just do it. Um, and things like customers and testimonials like have to be there. That's proven. But then, the rest of the copy,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
there's too
easier to
many
build
words.
somebody else's homepage too, by the way, than it is to build your own. So that's why I'm here, so I can help. So because you
Lovely.
guys were stuck in it for a year, I get to be fresh, look at it
Love
with
it.
fresh eyes. So
Love
cool.
it.
All right. Well, if you're here this week, if you're watching it later, we loved having you, and we'll be back next week, and hopefully you'll be